Hey, I'm Rutledge,
Hey, I'm Connor.
and we're Friends Stream Sports. We're real friends talking about real sports in real time, and we're real excited here because nothing to do with our show. There was some great, huge news that dropped today. Connor, tell everyone what is coming back in this world.
Big J Journalism here. Breaking news. EA Sports announces today that the NCAA football game will be coming back to us, to a console, next-gen console near you. So start saving your money. Start putting second mortgages on your home. Start picking up not just that second job, but that third or fourth job. And let's get ready for some NCAA football. Rutledge, how do you feel about that?
So hyped about it. I am so excited. The last NCAA football game broke my heart because of the fact that with that game, my school, Georgia Southern University, was gonna go into FBS and would have been in NC Dubs 15, but of course there was no NC Dubs 15. It was always people would create our rosters and put them up. So it feels good to know that my alumni will be in there. I'll be able to play as the actual team. Paulson Stadium will look like Paulson Stadium. We won't steal like Arkansas State or something. So I cannot wait. My wife made a joke when I texted her. She said, "But you haven't finished beating your first NCAA that you have. Why do you need to buy the new one?" So
Ooh, that's cold.
it was cold.
Unfortunately, speaking of cold, it won't be as cold as the fact that there is still not going to be any Wheaton Thunder, I don't think, in NCAA 22. So count your blessings.
It is, as Bing Crosby would say, when I lay down to fall asleep, I count my blessings. That's a
When you lay
white
down to
Christmas
count your
quote.
sheep, something like that.
Something like that. When you eat liverwurst, you dream about liverwurst. Anyways, we digress with the white Christmas references. Here we are. We're playing Bucks Chiefs as we're getting ready. It's Super Bowl week, Connor. In the not too far away with the first. I still can't believe this is the first time the home team has hosted the Super Bowl, all because Tampa Bay got rid of Jameis Winston. But I'm excited. How are you feeling about Super Bowl 55 coming?
I think that this Super Bowl is going to be awesome. It could have been a situation where you had, maybe less storylines because, the teams weren't there and you didn't have the media hoopla. But I think that it's not just two great teams, but think about the amount of storylines, right? You have the old guard and the new guard there with Brady and Mahomes. You have Travis Kelce and Gronk. I don't know if you saw their interviews yesterday, but they were both singing each other's praises. You have the Bucks defense, their players versus the coaches of the Kansas City Chiefs, and all the storylines about how all these Kansas City Chiefs coaches are getting robbed. You have another night in which your boy Matt Kafka will get to coach Patty Mahomes in a big game. So I think that there is a ton to be excited about for this Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's a lot of storylines, and I think the one that sticks out to me is exactly what you said. It is the old guard to the new guard. Yes, Tom Brady, Gronk, we're used to them being here, but are they going to stay here is the big, oh, you dropped that. Are they going to
Little
stay
Scotty
there?
Miller.
Little Scotty Miller made a little mistake. Are they going to stay there, right? Or is it going to be that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and company show that they're big and coming back? Also, something to note, someone that's been hurt but is coming back is Sammy Watkins, and he's actually from Florida, so he's excited to get to play. He said in an article his family is coming to the game, so that's going to be huge for him. But I think when the Bucks try to focus their defense on the Chiefs and they really try to take away Tyreek Hill or take away Travis Kelce, I think Sammy Watkins is going to be that release. That's going to be what they need. So it's going to be a really good game.
Here's a question for you,
Yeah.
Rutledge, going off script a little bit.
Okay.
Some of the talking heads on radio this week, because there's nothing to talk about football-wise besides these two teams, are talking about Patrick Mahomes already passing Brady as the GOAT if he wins. What's your take on that? And I know we're going to do our picks here shortly, but if Kansas City wins, does Patrick Mahomes already overtake Brady as the greatest quarterback of all time?
I'm going to give that I thought we were going to get a touchdown on the slant. Slants never fails. That's got to be on our T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give it that. I'm going to say no for right now because, sure, 2 back-to-back Super Bowls, extremely talented roster, in a franchise that, Andy Reid had to come in, they had to coach, they had to build the roster. They did the work, so not discrediting that they did the work. However, I don't think that gives him the GOAT status yet. I think he can get there. Because remember, Brady is one of the few quarterbacks that has enough Super Bowl stats to where you can have the conversation with him about his Super Bowl performance alone. Drew Brees, fantastic player. Once again, a missed kick. Friend Stream Sports. Drew Brees, fantastic player, 1 Super Bowl ring. Peyton Manning, fantastic player, 2 Super
Peyton Manning's got 2 Super Bowls.
He has 2. But still, so Tom Brady's in a league of his own. Patrick Mahomes has got to get, I think, a handful. We have to get 5 rings before then you can start having the Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady conversations. Plus, their games are different. Mahomes throws, he's got that backyard football we talk about. He scrambles around. He runs in a little bit different system. He's fantastic in the RPO. Brady likes his play-action passes, likes his short dump passes, likes to have a little bit of a run game. So I don't think
you got to fill up the hand before it's time to start talking about Patty Mahomes being the best.
Yeah. In the NFL is so weird and unlike the NFL, unlike other leagues. If we go back and think about LeBron James, he got on this whole, until LeBron James got his first ring, we took him serious, but he wasn't as serious, right? The LeBron James, Michael Jordan, well, he has no rings. The NFL, look at Dan Marino, is regarded as a fantastic quarterback, doesn't have the hardware to show it, but it doesn't hurt his legacy. I think in the regards to where that won't work is Mahomes versus Brady. So if you have, who do you have between the two of them, Connor?
I think Patrick Mahomes can get there. I think the thing about Patrick Mahomes is he is well on his way to 1 Hall of Fame career. If you think about how long Tom Brady has played at such a high level, our friend of the show, Nick Wright, has said this before. Tom Brady has had 2 Hall of Fame careers in the span of 1 career. So I think that there's still some ways to go. I think he definitely can get there. But there's a lot that can happen, right? Patrick Mahomes could get hurt. We hope he doesn't get hurt, but that's derailed people's careers before. Andy Reid could go. There could be a variety of reasons why a career does not fully live up to its potential. But, even if it, quote, doesn't live up to its potential, and Patrick Mahomes, let's say the Chiefs lose and Patrick Mahomes never gets to another Super Bowl, I mean, he's kind of getting to, like, Russell Wilson status. And Russell Wilson's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
So nothing to complain about for sure.
No, and I'm not to be a Seahawks homer, but to speak objectively, Russell Wilson deserves to be a Hall of Fame quarterback because of what he's done and the franchise and everything where he is. Patrick Mahomes, I agree, is in that same caliber now. For him to be Brady, you got to have the hands. Daniel has joined us for the evening. Want to say hi to him. So in this last 40 seconds, Connor and I are going to break down some fun things. We're just going to shoot back and forth some fun bet things Connor found on the internet.
Prop bets. A lot of prop bets on this Super Bowl. Rutledge. And to all of our viewers, I would love your thoughts. We'll make sure to note them, and next week we will review the prop bets from our viewers. Even points or odd points, Rutledge?
I am going odd points. More Super Bowls in the past have had odd points than even.
Even points, and that is an even point total. Highest scoring quarter.
I have second quarter. What do you have?
Both teams making quality adjustments after halftime. Highest scoring quarter, third quarter.
All right.
Next up, sorry.
Oh, you're good. Next is coin toss. I'm saying tails never fails.
Tails never fails. I'm going heads.
All right. How many times do you see Roger Goodell in the Super Bowl? 2.5 is the over-under.
Yes, I'm saying over, and here's my bonus pick here. On Roger Goodell's person, part of his wardrobe, there will be some light blue. That's a hot take for you. He will be sporting some light blue in some way, shape, or form in his outfit.
That is a hot take. I'm going the under for Roger Goodell, and that is including when he gives the trophy away.
Okay, all right. And then finally, there's going to be a team that wins, and there's going to be a Gatorade shower. What color is that Gatorade coming out on? Either Bruce Arians or Andy Reid.
Chiefs win. Red Gatorade.
Ooh, all right. When the Bucks win, as I picked last week, throw back to the orange, or little orange Gatorade.
Little orange Gatorade. By the way, shout out to Daniel. Daniel's out here giving us some viewership. We appreciate him coming out live. My MVP, by the way, for the Super Bowl is I have Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill is going to be a huge X factor and going to make it happen. So we're going to go into the second quarter where we're going to talk more football. And in our second quarter discussions, we have all of the new coaches that are hired for all the new teams. 7 new coaches are going to start next season. So we're going to give them a letter grade, and we're going to give one sort of thought of them. So our first one is Texans head coach David Culley. I'm grading him a B because he's going to be a great players coach, and that organization needs someone to sort of get everyone excited about coming to work, but he hasn't had the leaders. He's been in the NFL long, hasn't had the leadership experience, so I don't know how he's going to build his staff. So B, what do you give him?
You know, David Culley is coming from a quality organization in Baltimore, and I think that unfortunately, though, even though he's been around and could very well have a quality impact, I'm going to give him a C because I don't think he's the kind of guy who's going to bring and keep Deshaun Watson.
I'm with you with that. Robert Saleh, right? Robert Saleh for the Jets. He is coming in. I give him an A. There's a lot of talk that he's like Pete Carroll, brings a lot of positivity, a lot of energy. San Francisco had a great defense. They were very motivated. He could be good for Richard Sherman when he was there. So I think he's going to be great for the Jets. People are going to want to play like a Jet and run through a brick wall for this guy.
Yeah, Robert Saleh, I think I'm giving him an A also. He's got a ton of work to do, just like my defense has a ton of work to do and could very well be impacted by Robert Saleh. But I think he's got an A because of the motivation and the leadership that he's displayed with that San Francisco defense.
I think that is huge. Almost a pick. Next we have for the Chargers, surprise hire of the year was Brandon Staley. I'm giving him an A. He did great work for the Chargers defense. Created some great havoc over there in the NFC West. Kept them in contention. Jared Goff didn't help them out so much, but he has our secret best friend who we want to play Madden with, Justin Herbert. So he has great talent, great fit, great places to go. So definitely an A hire.
You know, we're going to disagree here a little bit, Rutledge. For Brandon Staley, I'm saying a C. And it's because he's, all credit to him. He's had a meteoric rise. This is just his 4th year coaching in the NFL. In his first year, 4 years ago in 2017, he was the outside linebacker coach for the Bears. Maybe it's just a fresh blood thing. Maybe they think this is a guy that, the team can really rally behind and just that new style. But, yeah, I'm going C. I think he's got a lot to prove.
Okay. Our first disagreement of the night. I have faith in him. You have on the question. Someone I don't have faith in is Eagles' Nick Sirianni. I have a D for him. There's a lot of problems that Doug Peterson birthed in Philadelphia. There's a locker room problem. There's a quarterback problem. There's a respect from the players problem. There's a salary cap problem. There's just a whole lot of problems. He's a young coach who, sure, he can coach quarterbacks, but Carson Wentz is just one player. You have a lot of work to do. And it's a very tough, impatient fan base to get the buy-in. So I think it's going to be a huge road for him. I have a D.
D, yes. Nick Sirianni first. Shout out to the D3 Click as he played at Mount Union. Giving him a B, I think the Colts were able to accomplish some real quality things on offense this year. The Eagles do have weapons. They're in a weak division. Nick Sirianni gets a B.
Nick Sirianni gets a B. Daniel gets an F because he's shouting against us for our rosters. We are what we are, Daniel. I just refuse to buy Madden 21, so our rosters are what we say they are. And Jameis Winston has got 2 throwing touchdowns tonight.
Until Justin Herbert comes to play with us. Daniel, if you could help us out there, we will buy Madden 21.
Yeah, Daniel, you're close. Daniel is closer to Justin than we are, so I bet he could get Justin, our secret best friend, to come out and play. Next
Yes,
we
yes.
have Falcons coach Arthur Smith. What is your grade for Arthur Smith?
C. It's a real head scratcher. You're bringing the offensive coordinator of the Titans, the run the air out of the ball Tennessee Titans, to the team with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and Calvin Ridley. Don't know how I feel about that, at least from a schematic standpoint.
I actually like this hire. I'm going to give him an A. They're going to change sort of their brand there in Atlanta. Yes, they have they have some fantastic wide receivers that I think could work really good in like a play action scheme where you have something with a running back, not Derrick Henry, but a Derrick Henry-esque power. But I think also this scheme doesn't need Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's expensive, and he's not a horrible quarterback. He's not a Hall of Famer, but I think his time in Atlanta is running out. And what do Falcons do? They move on from Matt Ryan. That's what I think is coming.
Ooh, all right, all right.
All right.
Who else do we have?
Our last coach and the seventh coach as we get ready for some other news is Urban Meyer. So we've talked a lot about Urban Meyer, but we've never graded him. So what is your grade for the Urban Meyer hire?
The grade, just as you rhymed, I'm about to rhyme. I will give him an A for his cachet, definite cachet hire, and a lot of potential good stuff. But so right now, out of the chutes, he gets an A.
I'm actually giving him a C. He's gonna get people in seats. He's gonna get the fan base excited, because UF does have a big fan base here in the state of Florida. But I do not feel that. It's just I have a gut feeling I can't explain that. I just don't know if his brand is going to transfer well to professionals. You know, as we've said before, there's not every single college coach hasn't succeeded, and I just worry about what he's going to do. So as we go with that, grading our coaches, there's another transition that we had that is Matthew Stafford, huge trade, is now a Los Angeles Ram. So there's so many question marks that brings up with this. But Connor, what is your initial gut reaction as we are tied 13-13 going into the last bit of the second quarter tonight?
Yeah, I think that this is the ultimate example of how you do within your surroundings. I tend to think that Matt Stafford is very, very close. Obviously different styles, but just in terms of capabilities of winning, I think he's pretty close to Jared Goff. So I think for the Rams to go to the next level, and it was kind of coming out that Jared Goff wasn't able to adjust as Sean McVay wanted to adjust. I think that there's going to be a lot of big time questions surrounding how much better is Matt Stafford than Jared Goff, or is Matt Stafford just fitting into what Sean McVay is trying to do better than Jared Goff? So, they had to get for the Rams to move Jared Goff and get Matt Stafford, those two first-round picks, which I also think has been a pretty big-time talking point, have been a part of this. But, I think that there is that's kind of my initial take is just I don't see those guys as very different in terms of being able to get you to the playoffs and maybe win a playoff game or two. So it's all about surroundings. Palm trees or Meyer.
I think this is a massive, awesome move for Matt Stafford in his career. I think he's about to be playing football out of his mind because he's going to be in a system and a scheme that is designed. Yes, he's going to have to be the quarterback who leads the charge, but I think it's not going to call on him to do as much, which will help him kind of be better. He used to be, and remember, we forget, Detroit was 0-16 before they drafted Matthew Stafford. And he was a pretty big stud when he was at the University of Georgia and did some good things. So I have a feeling Matthew Stafford's going to be a force to be reckoned with this coming year. Now we're going to see what their defense looks like in Los Angeles with Staley going over to coach the Chargers. I like this trade. I don't know if Jared Goff, the head coach of Detroit, has a good brand of coaching for saying that Detroit is the island of misfit toys, which I think we forgot to grade him.
Yeah,
But
Dan Campbell.
yeah.
He gets a D. Dan Campbell starts with D. But anyhow, go on.
Oh, I give Dan Campbell a B because I like his buy-in that he has that they are the uncool kids at the lunch table and he likes it. Huge sack by JPP. So, excuse me. I want to see what they do with Goff and how they sort of make it work. And um, did the Rams bite off more than they can chew, or are they going to be contenders? So, huge question for next season. Big move. As we conclude the second half, before we go into halftime hot takes, Connor, what was your favorite play of this season?
You know, I so wanted to say that great pass from Derek Carr to Henry Ruggs to beat the Jets there at the end of the game. Almost caught that Hail Mary there. Speaking of Hail Mary, I'm going to the Hail Murray. I think not just because walk-off game winners are awesome, but where that happened in the season and both teams were fighting for playoff position and playoff berth, I think that was just a really important play, as well as an awesome play. So what about you, Rutledge?
I'm also going with the Hail Mary. Man, I watched that at a sports bar live when it happened, and the reaction around the facility or the sports bar I was at was just everyone was just blown away that they just saw something amazingly cool. So I think that was my favorite play. Um, does it mean that the Cardinals are for real and Kyler Murray is the future? No, but it was really cool. Okay,
You're not a big Kyler Murray fan.
I'm really not. I'm really not. I'm really not.
Huh.
He's not awful, but he's not. You know, he's not great. So we move on as we move on to halftime hot takes. Sorry about that. We
Get
move on. We move on to halftime hot takes. What is our halftime hot take tonight, Connor?
With the Super Bowl coming up, this is obviously a very important day in in American culture, really. But there are other big sporting events that are big games as well on a global stage. So our question tonight is, which game is more important, the Super Bowl or the UEFA Champions League final? UEFA Champions League final, for those non-soccer fans or folks that maybe don't follow soccer as much, is the in-season tournament of the best teams throughout Europe. So think your Barcelonas versus your Liverpools or your Manchester Uniteds or your PSGs, kind of doing some cross the continent play for a champion. So it's usually tons of great international quality players playing for some serious money, some serious dough, and some serious fame to go along with that. So what game's more important, Champions League final or Super Bowl 49?
I am
Or just Super Bowl, pardon me.
Super Bowl 49 was very not important for me because that's when Russell Wilson threw that pick in the end zone at the end of the game on one of the biggest drives and one of the most heartbreaking career moments. So thank you for making me relive that. I appreciate that. Um, Super Bowl to me is where my head's gonna lie here, because the Champions League, while it is really cool and can rally certain countries and can get international attention, I think the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl is just, it's all American, maybe some Canadian, but mostly all American athletes playing in the United States for a game that is really not played outside of the world a lot. You may get your couple international stars, but most of the time, most of the athletes in the Super Bowl are American. So it generates more TV revenue, and wherever it's watched outside the United States, I think that is huge because it's people that have a passion for the game. Soccer is the beautiful game, which is seen around the world, but I think the Super Bowl is more important because that's where people get sort of an introduction into this American experience and something that's very American culture. So to me, I'm going to go with the Super Bowl is more important and in the professional sports world.
Got it. Well, that's a hot take. My hot take, I'm going to go outside of the borders and pick UEFA Champions League final. I think that's a more important game, not just what I'm saying, but also what the followers say. Usually, you'll go back and forth between Facebook and Twitter in terms of total tweets and things like that throughout the game. But I pulled down a chart. I know it's a touch dated, but it really put together a nice side-by-side of the 2014 Champions League final versus Super Bowl 49. Combined Twitter following, 25.2 million for the Champions League final, 2.2 million for the Super Bowl. Facebook page likes, 101 million for Champions League final, 9.6 million for Super Bowl 49. So more than 10 times the amount of Facebook page likes for that Champions League final. Viewers, Super Bowl, the most widely viewed game in America every year, 114 million. Estimated 380 million people watched the Champions League final. So I think just in terms of the amount of following that this game gets and the amount of cultural precedent that you'll see, the amount of jerseys that get sold literally all over the globe because of what happens in a Champions League final, I think is not just important for the sports world, but also for the world in general. So I'm going Champions League final.
All right. Well, that's a pretty hot take here at halftime, but now it's time to get back in to our game and go into our second half. For those of you that are out with us, thanks for coming out live. It is Tuesday. It is 8 o'clock. It is French Stream Sports. It's Connor and Rutledge. We're playing Chiefs versus Bucks out here in Madden. Come out. Make sure to check us live on Twitch on 8 p.m. Eastern. Also, if you haven't done so, follow our podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Become a follower of us on Twitch. There's so many ways to engage with the show. We'd love to get a hold of you. We'd love to, well, that sounds weird, but we'd love to be your friend, be our friend as you join us. So, Connor, something else we want to talk about is it's February. It's cold outside, but that means we are 1 month away from a time of madness. And can you believe that March Madness is right around the corner?
You know, I cannot, and I know we don't usually like to talk about coronavirus on this show, but I can remember coming up on about a year ago this March, and that being one of the big first dominoes to fall. So it's really awesome to have this game coming back for us here with March Madness.
And that all-out blitz does not work when Patrick Mahomes just runs around it.
But one of the neat things for sure is in the same way that the NBA and MLS had their bubbles, March Madness is going to have its bubble. March Madness is going to make sure that they can get this tournament done. I think it's a lot of fun that March Madness will be all in the state of Indiana, being in Orlando. It would have been fun to have it in Florida, but the fact that it's kind of so much basketball pride is there in Indiana, and a lot of these venues are very, very close to each other. So you can cycle in a lot of teams out pretty easily. I think is going to be a lot of fun. And, Indianapolis did a great job with their Super Bowl, so I think there's no reason to think that they're not going to do a great job with March Madness.
Oh, it's going to be a really cool event, and I think that it's neat that that we're expanding the bubble concept to where we took the baby infancy of what was this summer with the MLS and the NBA, and now we're doing it for other sports to keep people safe. So, Connor, when people fill out their bracket, where should they put, what should they think of some of the traditional powers like Kansas and Duke and North Carolina and Kentucky? I mean, those are usually pretty sure bets. So how are they doing this year?
For those who might not have followed college basketball as closely this year, the interesting thing is that the good teams aren't all that good this year. Duke is 7-6 and unranked, and oddly enough, Coach K has been putting everybody on blast. If you've been following him, Kentucky is 5-10, and Coach Calipari has also had a lot of interesting takes throughout the course of the season. Kansas 11-6, ranked 22nd. Then you got a team like Alabama who's doing really well. They're ranked number 9. So when you see that bracket, don't feel like you have to pick the traditional powers because the traditional powers have really struggled this year.
They really have. There's sort of a sort of shift in the world, and actually the conference to beat this year, someone that goes high in the power rankings, not the actual rankings, is the Big 12 with Baylor, Texas, and Oklahoma have all been doing really, really well. But it's been sort of surprising, different year. It's also, when you mention Alabama, Alabama is undefeated in SEC basketball. And while the SEC is not known to be the basketball conference, um, still to be undefeated in a season with a conference that contains Kentucky, where usually they run away from everybody, I think that's a very different world to look at for the sport. Almost a pick on
That was
Rutledge's
quite
side.
a poor throw by Patrick Mahomes there, off of his off back foot.
Off back foot as he spun around in a circle.
I think to give another hot take here, I don't know if you're ready for all the heat that I'm bringing tonight, seeing as it's so cold where we are in Florida. You know, one of the interesting things that I think that you're going to see is not just the first round upsets, although I think ultimately you're going to have, you know, it's not going to be a total upset. I think that this could be a great year for multiple lower seeds to really sneak in, you know, make an Elite Eight appearance, maybe have two, you know, teams below a 7 seed make the Final Four because they're not traveling as far, right? You don't got to go all over the place. You know, I'm unsure specifically as to the travel schedules, but even if teams fly back and forth, there still will be some familiarity of getting into those places, getting into those stadiums, things like that. So, you know, be ready for, you know, as much as some teams that are usually pretty good have struggled, once you get into the tournament, you know, all it takes is for one team to get hot, and they don't have that added piece of travel to take into consideration.
Definitely. So whenever you do to put together your bracket, pay attention to the championship weekends as the games play out. Make sure to know it's going to be a different March Madness. We will host our own March Madness bracket here on Friendstream Sports, so check out more for that. But something Connor and I are really excited about as we're cruising through is also NASCAR season is coming. And my true guilty pleasure in life is NASCAR. I have Daytona 500 tickets. I'm excited. February 14th. We're also hosting our own fantasy NASCAR league on Friendstream Sports. Connor, how do people play along with us?
People will need to email us or just message us. However you get to us, say, I want in on Fantasy NASCAR. When you do that, we will send you a link to get to sign up, where you will get to pick drivers to get to cheer on throughout the course of the season. There will be rankings. There will be power rankings. I will do my best to write fictional journalism about the owners and all of the crazy storylines that I will be sure to come up with throughout the course of the NASCAR season. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited about it. And I think it'll be a fun thing for us to do as a show. You know, when there's, you know, when the football story and the football news cycle turns into a little bit more like TMZ than actual football.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a great experience. Something to keep in mind as you get ready to look at Fantasy NASCAR is some of the, I just pulled the championship odds going ahead. So Chase Elliott took home the championship last year. The favored odds preseason ahead are Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, and Denny Hamlin. If you're not the biggest NASCAR fan out there in the world, those are your pretty much names that are your normal NASCAR heavy hitters for right now. So Kevin Harvick has been very much a force to be reckoned with. Kyle Busch is usually very consistent. Chase Elliott is young. So it's going to be an interesting season to kind of turn around. Is there anything you're watching for this NASCAR season, Connor?
You know, as always, especially when you're doing it from the fantasy perspective, you have oval track drivers and you have road course drivers, and it's understanding who's going to be really good on the ovals, you know, who's going to be really good at courses like Talladega, tracks like Talladega, where you're racing 3 wide. And as you know, when you're racing 3 wide, there's a lot of chaos that goes down. When you're racing on the road course, there's a lot of chaos that goes down. So how do you try to predict those drivers who are going to do well in the different courses throughout the season? I think is going to be critical to determining the winner.
Absolutely, and something that helps Chase Elliott actually have such good favors is he, unlike most traditional NASCAR drivers, does very well on the road courses, where in NASCAR traditionally your driver does good on the big courses like Talladega, Daytona, some of the short courses get some top 10s, and the road course they just hold on for the best luck as they can because it's not their forte. So I'm excited for the NASCAR season. it's a sport that is, it's very safe for the drivers because of COVID, but it's not very, the racing is still dangerous, but it's super fun. And it's a sport that I think is refinding itself, and I can't wait. So now it's time for our fourth quarter basketball talk, where we, through the basketball season, are going to take one team and kind of digest them every week and talk about what they got. So who are we talking about this week, Connor?
Well, before we do that, Rutledge,
Oh, yeah.
let us our first week we did talk about the Bucks, and you did beat me because I picked the Bucks over the Lakers, but the Bucks are still playing pretty solid. So just want to give you a shout out for beating me there with the pick. But this week we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia 76ers.
And that is pretty big on Philadelphia. So they're being led by one man in a one-man charge, and that's Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is fourth in the league for scoring. And before we even get into dissecting him, because I know, Connor, you probably have some good takes on him, Doc Rivers is new to the Lakers this year, and he's actually doing such a good job that he won Coach of the Month for December, January games. So that I thought was really good to see for him, as we both kind of had him as a preseason question mark of what is he going to do in Philadelphia. But how do you feel about Joel Embiid?
Being a Kansas Jayhawk fan, I'm allowed to be a fan. Being a Kansas Jayhawk fan, we had I've always been a big Joel Embiid fan, but I think he is finally a little more focused. And I think in terms of his game, one of the things that he has really, really done better at is worked on his passing. That has been a big thing that has allowed him to continue to develop as a player and to make his team more dangerous. The guys that are benefiting from that are guys like Seth Curry, guys like Danny Green. I know Tobias Harris is not necessarily a three-point shooter, but I got to give him a shout out as a former Magic man. And is still a dang good basketball player. So when big men can pass, that opens up so much of the court. Big men, they don't have to shoot. And in fact, a lot of times being near the hoop can really open things up for other players. But being able to pass as a big man, I think, is very, very critical. So Joel Embiid, his time as an MVP, I think, has a lot to do with his ability to pass that ball really well.
I think so as well. He's done that. It's actually shown that when Seth Curry and Joel Embiid both start, so they both play the game, they're actually 11-0 this year. And Philadelphia is only one of 6 teams that has an above 500 record in the East. Are you surprised that they're only one of 6 teams with that type of record right now, Connor?
I think I'm not. I think the bottom of the Eastern Conference is not good. Unfortunately, I did mention the Magic. With all the injuries that they've had, they've really fallen off. The biggest surprise has been Washington, as Bradley Beal keeps on crushing it, and the Wizards keep on finding ways to lose. As my good friend Charlie Bell says, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. So they keep on doing their thing there. But we knew that Philadelphia was a top tier team in the East going into this season. We knew Philadelphia could play. We knew that there was a ton of question marks around guys like Ben Simmons, like Joel Embiid, if he was going to be interested in playing as well as he is. It's turning out that he is that interested in playing as well as he is. But and we're going to talk about the game here coming up against the Nets. There's some stiff competition in the East. I think the top of the East has gotten a lot better. Milwaukee's still really solid, but you've got Brooklyn as well, who, with their trade of getting James Harden into the mix that's a tough out. It's going to be a tough out here this week, and that's going to be a tough out in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely going to be the stats showing against, and we'll make our picks, but Sixers against Brooklyn. Brooklyn has done such a good job of distributing the ball and having everyone play their roles. I'd like to add that Dwight Howard has definitely become a piece that has helped Philadelphia along. He's not carrying the team like Dwight Howard of young, but as he showed, especially during the finals last year, he's become valuable to their success. He still is very talented, and he's still able to help them. Philly's
That
schedule,
is, and Dwight Howard has great hair.
Oh, he does.
I like what Dwight Howard's been doing with his hair.
He's got it. It's good. It's a good look for him, I think. He also has had the biggest delts I have ever seen. His shoulders are ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, he's always had those delts. Even when he was in Orlando, I mean, it was huge, long arms, and then bowling balls on top of that connected his arms to his neck.
Bowling balls. We are here. I'm going to call a timeout because we're 57 seconds to go. Connor looks like he's running the clock out in order to try to pull a Friendstream Sports field goal to win this
Which
thing.
That's pretty dicey, as we know.
That's a coaching choice. The Sixers, for their schedule coming up, they have the Pacers, the Hornets, and then they have the Nets. They have the Blazers, where they get to play against Lillard, and then they also have the Nets. So they have a pretty good schedule coming up. They are 5th in points per game. They are 4th in opponents allowed points per game, as in they allow the 4th fewest. So I like what they've gotten going on this season. Where do you see them seeding going into the playoffs, Connor?
I think that they're going to be in a fight for the top 3. They should definitely. Rutledge taking another timeout. So I'm trying to work this clock. I think that you're going to have Milwaukee and Brooklyn being at the very top of the East, and I think that Philadelphia is going to be right there with them. I could see Philadelphia. I could see the Brooklyn struggling at some points because I think focus throughout the course of an 82-game season is so stinking critical, and Travis Kelce there with. Yeah, that's a pretty back-breaking touchdown. Rutledge, any hot takes on this touchdown that I just scored on you with 18 seconds left?
For our podcast listeners out there, we're glad you're this deep into our episode. Travis Kelce, I called basically a goal line blitz. Travis Kelce just ran a straight run by himself. Connor played catch. Travis Kelce catches a touchdown. 18 seconds left to go. I have one timeout. And I've dished on Kyler Murray, who had the coolest Hail Mary pass of this past season. So, with Jameis Winston coming onto the field, let's see what these Bucs can do. Let's fire the cannons. I'm hyped now.
I think that, your Jameis Winston interception earlier really was going to be the difference, which obviously was the difference all in 2020 with Jameis Winston.
That is true.
But nevertheless, I think that I could definitely see Philadelphia being ranked number 2 as we head into the playoffs this year.
Something interesting that I saw is in order to shorten the NBA season, the NBA, of course, as we know, just a reminder to everyone, the season is a lot shorter, and the second half of the schedule comes out later because the NBA is monitoring COVID. Something to note, did you catch that? Wow. We have a game here, boys and girls. We are sitting here. It is 4 seconds to go. I am on the 22-yard line. 21-28. Chiefs Bucks in the Ray J. Does Rutledge run the slant? Oh, you better get ready for the slant.
A lot of slant action.
Not a lot of podcasting right now. Go for goal. Oh, my God.
Wow.
No, are you kidding? Godwin comes down with the catch. Swatted. Godwin takes it. Totally gets the catch. This is a highlight for us. Look at this. Jameis Winston throws the pass. Going deep down in the end zone. Godwin jumps up. Comes down with it. Rutledge is coming up to tee off for the PAT. Wow. Connor, how do you feel?
I feel like I'm going to try to ice you. See if you can miss this.
See if I can miss this if it's as cold as it is in my house, because I don't believe in paying for heat.
We all got to do what we all got to do here. Those fans are hype. Those pre-COVID fans are hype. And I am hyped because you just missed.
Icing the kicker works.
The PAT.
Shank the PAT. Time runs out. I released it too early. Andy Reid gets a cheeseburger.
Andy Reid gets a Burns steak cheeseburger. He's going to go to Burns with 2 pieces of bread and say, give me the largest steak that you have. I'm going to put it between these 2 pieces of bread with like some American cheese product.
And then they're going to give him the total, and he's just going to tap his Super Bowl trophy, the Lombardi, and say, no, this pays for it.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Well, what a game, Rutledge. And
what a game,
Connor. I think we've got some games to pick here.
We definitely do. Our first pick is, if it tipping off soon. If it hasn't, no, it tipped off at 7:30 tonight. But we're picking Celtics Warriors. So who is your choice tonight for Celtics Warriors?
Picking the Warriors. Steph Curry is gonna light them up. Going with the Dubs.
I have the Warriors also. No Marcus Smart starting for Boston, and Steph Curry leads the league in 3-pointers. He's going to splash all over them. Wednesday's game, Wizards play the Heat, two teams that are not very good in the East. Who do you have?
Sticking with the Wizards, I think Beal scores over 40, and the Wizards start to turn things around.
I'm actually going Miami. I think they have more pieces that can move the ball. Yeah, Bradley Beal might put up some points, but as long as they get some rebounds and get the ball away from him, they'll take it to him.
And finally, we have the Nets versus the 76ers.
Huge game for the weekend. I am going Brooklyn, and I think they're still trying to figure it out, but there's an energy behind this team. They're not in the stretch yet. James Harden and KD, they're clicking, they're firing on all cylinders, and they're showing what they can do. So I think they're just going to be a little too much. They're going to get the rebounds, they're going to take the ball away from Embiid, and they're going to deliver the points. They're going to really outscore the 76ers.
We agree on one thing, that there's going to be a lot of points. I mean, even the popcorn vendor is going to probably get 10 points. But I think that the 76ers are going to win because the Nets won't have anybody to guard Joel Embiid. Embiid goes ham. 3-pointers are dropping. Doc Rivers gets to continue to really impress us with his coaching abilities. And, yeah, going 76ers.
Going 76ers. How cool would that be if the last 2 minutes Steve Nash just suits up and goes in and drops 20 or something?
Like Jackie Moon, player coach?
Yes.
Like he was with the Flint Tropics?
Exactly like Jackie Moon, right? Be a great way. Well, either way, that's our show tonight. Great game of Madden. Please make sure that you email us to join Fantasy NASCAR. These engines are getting ready to crank up. It's a lot easier than you think it is, and it's a lot of fun. Connor, anything to say before we sign off?
Victory is sweet. That's what I'm going to say.
Definitely earned that one from the coach's booth. Well, for that, tonight, I'm Rutledge.
And I'm Connor.
And have a great night.